Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GBYWN Australia podcast. I am your host, as per usual, Aston Crude, here for episode number 92. And we have the Yarders Roundtable discussion on what happened about a year and a half ago, Wrestleution 5, the final show in WZWA history. And my esteemed panel, one more time, Mr. 55 Live Jack Wallace.
Howdy.
Daniel Johnston.
How's it going?
Kilowatt Chaos.
Here we are.
And me. So, guys, where we were before, we were talking about all the shit leading up to Wrestleution 5. We just got to where we would start talking about the show, but then we hit an hour and a half and we got to go to a part 2. I noticed on my list of absentees that I forgot to mention Wicked Nick James was unable to be there, and I know, once again, he regrets it. And Jack is still low-key permanently mad at Nick over it.
Yeah, Nick, if you're listening, I'm low-key permanently mad at you. And also, if you want to play Gang Beasts on the PS3, have fun playing by yourself, brother.
Owned. Obviously, Nick really did want to be there. DJ, have you got any insight on your brother?
Well, Nick's recently welcomed his second daughter, Delilah, my second niece. The beautiful Delilah into the world, and he's doing great guns, and he also has lost a bunch of weight, and he's healthier than he's ever. He's actually starting footy this year, man.
Oh, fuck yeah, who's he playing for?
He's the local fucking team, wherever
What's
it
the
is.
local team, bro? My dad's
He didn't
probably
fucking
playing
say
for.
the team, he just said, I'm starting footy now.
Typical DJ
What team is
doesn't
he?
get all the
What
information.
position is he?
Knowing him, probably a crummer.
Can you elaborate?
That's like someone that fucking sort of like hangs on the outside and sort of like waits for the ball to come to them and then hand passes it off.
The outside of what?
The ball.
Yeah, rolls it.
Puts it out when he's about to catch him.
The outside of what? The goal square?
Just up, like, you know, if everyone's scrumming for the ball, he's like, when
Bro,
it comes
yeah,
out,
we're talking about footy, not rugby.
I know what we're fucking talking about.
I just want some insights to why your brother didn't make the show. Fuck.
Because he has responsibilities, man.
Okay,
Very cool.
that's all I wanted to hear.
He was sorely missed.
He was definitely sorely missed. I would have loved to have had him there. But he made the reunion party, so that makes up for it. Right. Guys, the show.
Woo!
Finally, we're there.
Let's start with the date. What date was the show again?
April 22nd, 2017.
Damn.
So we start off the show with the Masked Battle Royal. I will go into a little bit of detail as to why I even booked this in the first place. I felt like it was necessary for all the masked characters to get their final appearance on the show. But also, when I think back to the initial idea, it was because we had a tradition every year, and that tradition was El Papacito versus EQG. Now, we had it at the first Wrestleution, and Jack asked me, could we please make this a tradition? Can we please do it again next year? Now, the first match was okay, and it just got over the line for me to be like, all right, this is what Jack wants. I don't want to keep saying no to people all the time. I'll let him have this one. Wrestleution 2 takes place. We have the soft core match between EQG and Papacito, which is, in my opinion, the best one of the series.
Yeah, definitely.
Where Papacito got revenge and got the win back.
How would you know, Jack? You're not Papacito.
Yeah.
You're not Papacito.
Shut up. We get to Wrestleution 3 with the video game match. So this was going to be all comedy. And it was going okay until the end where Papacito grabbed the wrong controller, which made things a bit confusing.
That's so fucking stupid.
He was supposed to grab the controller that was controlling EQG, but grabbed his own one, and everyone got confused, but I think he lost to a punch from EQG.
Stupid,
It was just like straight
wasn't the video game match a Luke Monette idea?
Probably.
Oh, God, I can't remember. But we thought it would be interesting anyway.
Well,
and after that, Dan had kind of... I think at the time I was thinking Dan's losing slight interest in this... in wrestling in general, and he only wants to wrestle when it's important. which is why Dan Zeppelin himself as a character didn't really wrestle every single show, just when it needed to happen.
Which, side note, I never got to say this before because I don't think it's ever been brought up, but I always felt like Dan's character became a special attraction because of that. And because he was only wrestling when he was doing crazy ass death matches. But he was doing shit that you weren't often seeing. Staples, brought light tubes in, barbed wire, all that sort of shit. Like, he was kind of taking the step above what sort of all the other regular hardcore guys were doing. And then he was setting the bar, which in turn ended up making like WZWA's hardcore wrestling the way it ended up being. So, I just wanted to add that little bit in there. I felt like Dan Zeppelin became a special attraction.
Good call.
Because he wasn't wrestling every show, and the matches he were wrestling were 8.5 stars or more out of 10.
Right
Easy.
on. But Dan kind of expressed to me he was pretty done with the EQG gimmick and the Wrestleution matches. So we had the green card on a pole match at Wrestleution 4, which obviously, as we know, was a complete disaster. And if you watch the Wrestleution 4 DVD, you'll hear how upset I was as a commentator watching the match back. Absolutely furious with the fact that no one would climb the fucking pole to attempt to get the green card until right at the end.
I still want to watch that DVD.
Oh, it's
I still
great.
haven't seen it.
No, it's really good. But anyway, so that was supposed to be the last EKG appearance, but then it wasn't long afterward when Jack and I reconvened and talked about the future of WZWA and made a decision that Wrestleution 5 would be the last show. So when we started getting together with the booking committee, talking about different ideas, I thought, well, I'm sure Dan won't mind doing EKG one last time because it's the last show. But I was trying to think of a way to have this final showdown without having to have Dan and Jack have an actual match, because the results the previous time weren't that good, and I was concerned that at the time, Jack's low kind of interest in things and Dan's kind of low interest in things, that it just would be a disaster again. So, after a bit of brainstorming, Masked Battle Royal, and we'll finally do the Masked Championship we talked about in 2013.
Oh, man, we should have done it back then. I still think we should have done it.
We were going to have a Masked Division back then, but we decided against it after we were given the World Hardcore Championship.
Fair enough.
We didn't want to, The only reason why we had all those masked guys back then was because we wanted bigger roster numbers. But anyway, we're finally going to do the Masked Championship, and I thought, well, this is a great idea. Now we can get, the LWO in a match on the show. We've got Papacito and EQG, Mojo Flows on the show, maybe Midday Rocker. We can try and get all the other masked guys back. So we'll try and get Scream, Destructor, Obi, Yoshiaki, all of those types. So it was just one opportunity for all those characters to have its send-off. So let's get to the match. Actually, there's another story I wanted to tell. Midday Rocker was supposed to be in the Battle Royal, but upon realising that Lowe was going to be in the match as Scream, Jacob sent me a very angry text message that morning, or Facebook message, saying, can't believe you're ruining my fucking day by trying to sneak Lowe into the Battle Royal. Why would I want to fucking do that match with him in there? I'm just not going to come until a little bit later. So you can forget about me being in it. And I was just like, fuck, it's the last show. I really can't be bothered with the drama. I know those two weren't getting along at the time, but it was, I'd
never even heard of that.
Yeah, it was just a little thing, and I never really mentioned it because I just thought, fucking whatever, dude. Like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Like, it's...
He ended up coming straight after the match and then pretty much just... I think him and Lloyd made up.
Yeah, virtually straight away, and I knew that was going to happen. I already knew it.
They hadn't seen each other since they were still friends. The fuck do you think's going to happen? Put them in the same room together. They're not going to fucking...
And at a show like Wrestleution, when we're all having a good time and we're all pretty happy and all that. Is everyone all right? Everyone seems a bit glum. Are we all good?
I'm feeling good.
We're good? Okay, good. Yeah. I guess you just listened to my little story.
Yes.
And obviously... Shinigami was going to be in the match. I even brought his mask with me, but We all know how that ended up. So, okay, let's get to the match, the Masked Battle Royal. I guess what took place was the LWA did their usual promo. We didn't have a ring announcer, so Esqueleto did ring announcing duties. Revealed El Papacito as the higher power of the LWO, which is just nonsensical, but I did it basically because I thought it would be a funny moment for Jack to do something as dumb as that. And we had all the great entrances, all the old theme songs that we remember, all the guys coming out, and the reunion of Scream and Esqueleto, which ended with Scream just not giving a shit about him, and Esqueleto being fucking, you fucking wanker, or whatever he said. You're fucking wanker.
Something dumb, just so lazy. Just something lazy.
And as the Battle Royal is about to begin, EQG's theme song hits, makes his triumphant return, and the match begins. Obviously, we'll talk about our favourite moments in that match, guys. But as we know, EQG ended up getting the victory in the end to become the Masked Champion. So let's start with Chaos. What did you think of the Masked Battle Royal? I know you get a kick out of the Masked characters.
I did. I love the Masked characters. I think they're the only guys that will let actually get a really big one up on me, like they did in the Battlefield Brawl, and let them get away with it. But I thought it was a great start to our last event. And I love seeing the Masked guys, and there's always so much comedy to be had, especially with the LWO. And I still can't get over one of the Mexican Masked guys being called Colin. It's such an Asian name.
So stupid.
Every time it happens and his name comes up, it's always a laugh. I love the bit where El Papacito did the Austin. It was me. It was me all along.
And I got the fucking line wrong as well,
Yeah.
which is even funnier.
It's hilarious because they're not intimidating at
And
all.
then Esqueleto goes, your accent is fucked.
Yeah, back.
So it's just that was the best part about the Masked division. It was just so fucking meaningless.
Exactly.
So stupid.
So much fun. And it was so good to see Dan coming out as EQG.
He's vampire
He had to
with
do it.
passionate love.
The last time we saw him, he offed himself with a party popper.
He had to do it one last time. And that,
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
It was great fun. My favourite parts, which will probably be evident when I say it, is Obi. It was good to see Obi after like so long in ICWS, and because it's this fucking cunt right beside me, Daniel Johnston with a goddamn mask. There's no way of him changing how he looks or walks or talks, and the fact that he's fucking resting every 5 seconds on a rope because he can't be fucked. And the most favourite bit is when he gets eliminated, and he gets eliminated the easiest way possible by literally going over a rope, and his legs literally stick up from the hump of land that we got right next to it.
Yeah, immediately
So
that
he
was
didn't
the
even
idea.
have to fold. He just kind of just went over the
We
rope.
went to the side of the ring where there was actually no way of falling down. Just to, all right, DJ,
Literally
we'll
just
place you over.
Exactly, he gets placed over like a goddamn jovial panda.
Like fucking Kuma on Tekken, like doing
Yeah.
a roll, like
Yeah, exactly. So that would be my favourite bit. But all in all, the masked match was hilarious, and the fact that two of the masked, was it Colin and Emilio, got eliminated at the same time.
From doing putting your hands in for.
Yeah, for putting your hands in for a last hurrah, and they just get fucked over.
How is that possible? Physically possible? Like defying physics and gravity that they get flung out the ring from it.
Just a great comedy match, and it really set a good mood for the rest of the. Anyone coming in there not feeling like they're going to be into the show, that kind of given us a positive start to our last event.
I also want to mention, I forgot, Ricardo from ETW, another masked character. Ricardo was put into the match as well and added to the LWO. So I thought that was pretty neat that we not only got ICWS masked characters with the WZWA ones, but we also got an ETW one to come along and join with Emilio and Colin. And Spyro, let's not forget Spyro. DJ, you were Obi in this match. Initially, when I said, okay, we're doing a masked battle royal, I need you to be Obi, you were like, oh man, I don't want to fucking do that. I'm not doing it. And I'm like, you're doing it. It's happening. Everyone else is doing it. You're not ruining this. Obi is coming back. Hadn't been seen since what? Seasons Beatings 2010 as a character wrestling on a show. Obi's in the match. If it's not Obi, it's fucking Kevin Psycho or one of your other fucking... It's one of your other stupid mask characters that you had with a fucking sock on your head.
No, well, I mean, my memories of that match was that I just didn't want to be there.
Why didn't you want to do the Obi thing? Why was it immediately negative when I asked you about doing Obi?
Because I knew that there'd be all these cunts in there and there wouldn't be any room to bump and everyone would be fucking hitting me and I was just... I was just not in the mood.
Like a wrestling match.
Yeah. I just was not in the mood for it.
Well, you came out to the ring, you weren't wearing shoes, and I'm like, oh, the canvas is fucking hot.
Obi didn't wear shoes, though.
Well, at least he
character,
stepped with the character.
So,
I would have loved to see you and Mo's stocking as Kevin's.
Yeah, with metal on metal by Amber was the theme. No, but
was it your mum's stocking that you put on your head?
It was like an old fucking pair of pantyhose that I just like.
Fucking Kevin Psycho.
So no, but anyway,
because his dad's name's Kevin, so he called himself Kevin Psycho.
Yeah, and I couldn't even bother coming up with a good last name, so I just said Psycho.
Shit.
No, but I mean, it was
come up to
when the safety downs hit, I was into it for that moment, like just the entrance and shit like that, and everyone popped for it, And
well, we needed a representative of the play group in there.
Oh man, the play group. So my favourite parts of the battle royal was Spyro eliminating himself, and literally it's like he just runs up from. Hang on. He runs from one side of the ring over to the other, puts himself over the top, and then sells it as if someone threw him over, which they never did.
He's supposed to be going for a 619. How do you fuck it up that bad?
It didn't even resemble an offensive move at all. It was just him jumping over the top and out to the floor.
I felt like he was trying to be Amelia. Yeah. He was trying to take Amelia's spot.
For me, that was...
Those Warmborough boys and their mask characters fucking brilliant.
That for me was my favourite part of the match, and when I got to leave the match as well. And my other favourite part is just anything with the LWO involved. I love the LWO. The fact that they're called Colin and Emilio. The fact that it's blatantly, not only is it blatantly Kyle and Deacon as a team, these masked tag team, but they're also a tag team in their other characters, so it's so blatantly them. Like they didn't want to do it with anyone except each other, so they were just like, oh, let's be Colin and Emilio.
It's like Edge and Christian.
Yeah, and they're just such fucking... It's like watching a bunch of retards trying to fuck a doorknob. Like, they're just fucking so stupid. And to me... Just, as Chaos said, I want to echo that as well. The fact that one of them was called Colin, the fact that one of them would have, had to think of that name and be like, oh, I want to be called Colin. One of them has a hell Mexican name, Emilio, and one of them's just called Colin.
How good was it when they made that video of Colin having been fucking missing for all that time?
You should detour and tell everyone about that video and plug it for them, because it's really funny stuff.
There was a stretch there where we were trying to do the LWO storyline, but Deacon either didn't show up or he had to leave the show pretty early, so we couldn't get Colin as a part of the entourage very much as we were doing it. So as it got towards the end, we were able to get Colin there more often, but we wanted to explain his absence. So Kyle and Deacon got together and made this great video of Emilio searching for Colin, finding him a la Scarface, just in a pile of cocaine.
And it's in one shot, Emilio's wearing shoes, and in the next shot he's not got any shoes on. But it's supposed to be the same fucking thing.
They didn't have a cameraman either, so you never saw both of them in the same shot.
Yeah, you never saw both of them in the same shot, and he's trying to climb over the fence with no shoes and just shorts and a singlet and a mask on. And it's clearly just Kyle, and he's struggling to get over this fence, and he just can't make it, and you can see him trying to get over it until eventually he just gives up and lets himself fall over the other side. And then when it comes out on the other side, suddenly he's missing his shoes and he's wearing a different t-shirt. Like, it's just the most retarded thing ever. I hadn't laughed that hard at like something that we did in WZWA since the debut of like Tales of the Warzone.
We still need to do more episodes, man.
I keep saying to Carl all the time,
Tales after the Warzone,
where it's just the same thing, but now there's no WZWA, so it's like, why are these retards?
Dude, they should be like 30-minute shorts.
Yeah. And, you know, and the idea would be just like, why are these retards, like, still here? Like,
no tobacco caps.
They can give us the opportunity to close out some storylines
Sure.
that never got to
Oh, really?
be
Can I?
closed out.
So yeah, your thoughts on the Masked Battle Royal, Jack?
I love the Mask guys, man. I fucking love the Mask. I love them all. All the Mask characters, like, you know, I've always been pro Mask division. Like I said, I was pushing for the Mask division back in 2013. I was pushing for a Mask championship. Hey DJ, you know we got a fridge in there you can refill the water bottles with.
oh, alright, cool, man. Thanks for the tip.
Anyway, yeah, no, I'm a very big fan of the division. To see them all in one big battle royal at the last show was cool, and it was good to see EQG and Papacito actually not take up a slot on the card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have ended up wanting to have done that in the end because it just would have taken up so much time. But anyway, our favourite moments of the match, just everyone piling on. Who did they pile onto? And then
I think EQG was as he got in the ring, the old WO all jumped on him.
Yeah, they all jumped on him and then all got eliminated all at the same time, like fucking stupid. And it's just all the stupid elimination spots, man. Like a lot of unlikely shit just going against physics. Like it's just a good comedy match, sets the vibe for the day.
Yeah.
While I prefer a traditional, really good opening match, the Masked Battle Royal did suffice just because it was fucking funny and usually don't even know where I was going with that. I don't know, man. Just even participating in it was a lot of fun. I haven't been in many battle royals, so it was good to get in one. It's kind of a
You've got to have a battle royal on the final show, no
Yeah,
matter what's going on, you know.
Every big show has a battle royal on the card.
Yeah, and so again, the point of it was the EQG Papacito thing and getting all the masked characters on the final show. I loved it. I put it first because I felt like maybe it would be a good way to break the ice. People might be a bit nervous. If we start off a bit lighthearted, then everyone might feel a bit more at ease. So it was really good fun, and
I'm sorry. There is one moment that I remember where I was given a Stone Cold Stunner by EQG, and I'm going to act it out just so I can remember, but obviously none of you cunts will see. Where, like, EQG comes up to me and he's giving everyone a stunner, and I remember, like, Dan coming up to me and I was just like, man, don't give me a stunner. Like, I was just thinking, don't do it to me because I couldn't be bothered, right? And he comes up, he does the stunner, and all I do is just the lamest fucking, I was like this, like, and then I just like stumbled back until I found the ropes and just went. And like all the pro guys in the audience were like, "Oh, come on, DJ, you fuckwit! You couldn't even sell a fucking stunner." And I actually said to him, I was like, "Well, what?" Like while I was in the match, what do you want? Like, you know, because I was just embarrassed that like Slade was calling me out about it. Like,
You gotta rock sell that shit, man. Think of the Rock at WrestleMania 17. That's the way you gotta
think of
sell
Scott
it.
Hall at WrestleMania 19.
man, I don't
18,
do
sorry.
shit, man. I've already taken.
You gotta fucking you gotta
Hey,
take the stunner and you gotta
You
go.
ruined the battle royal.
Yeah,
Alright.
I think actually the Battle Royal was really underwhelming. Thanks to DJs.
Look, but let's get through this. It was a great beginning to the show, and I think the nice moment for EQG to become the masked champion. It was set up that way because what the character of EQG and what Dan did for the character in ICWS, where new guys would come in and he was like the ICWS welcoming committee. You got your first win over EQG.
Everyone.
It was good that all these years later, that character could actually fucking win a championship and walk out with its head held high. So, awesome stuff. Next, the tag team title match. Look, I know that the tag team division by that point had been quite depleted. We already had our golden age of tag team wrestling, what with Franchise, Rebellion, AAA, Circus Royale, other teams like Chaos and Three Dog, the Revolutionaries,
Low and Antilicus.
Yeah, you and Steel, the Broken Highway Mafia. Also got 1990 Awesome. Steel Erection, obviously. I could go on forever with all those tag teams that came through during that time, but obviously I put it on the back burner in the last year because I needed everyone to be focused on singles feuds heading towards the final show because everyone would be in a singles match for their last match. So it was important for them to do that, so the tag team division kind of got put on the back burner. But I still wanted a tag title match at the final show, and I was brainstorming, trying to think of a way to do this, and
I'm sorry. I just want to think. Maybe you could go into a little bit more detail. Like you just sort of said, like you didn't really feel like the tag division was sort of going anywhere at that point in time. It had sort of cooled down. So being such a big show as the final show of Wrestleution 5. Take us through your mindset, like doing a little Conrad Thompson. Take us through your mindset. No, but I kind of want to know what was your process in sort of deciding that was what you wanted to do with the tag team titles, and how did you arrive at that point? Because we know we're about to talk about it in a moment. How amazing that segment turned out with SPWS and everything like that. So how did you sort of decide that that's where I want to go? This is the teams that I want to use. Why was it against Circus Royale, etc.? Let's sort of we'll get serious.
I always knew that the originals were going to drop the tag titles to me and Mykonos to help with our storyline, and I knew also that we had to drop the tag titles before the final show because we weren't going to have a tag match at the last show, and we weren't going to walk out with the tag title each. Just the tag titles still need to be represented on the final show, even if we did something small. But I think for the past few years before that, I had been trying so hard to get some sort of SPWS reunion, but every time we went to do it, Ice was injured, and either that or he retired or something like that, so we could never actually get those two together. So I also thought it might be an interesting situation to see Circus Royale be put against their will to tag against one another in this tag team match. So with me turning on Mykonos during that match, they're unwillingly becoming tag team champions with one another, and now they've got to defend the tag titles at the final show. So that was just the story behind it that I had come up with. I hope I'm answering your question properly.
Yeah.
But it was just basically a vehicle to have SPWS standing across the ring from Circus Royale as mystery tag team opponents, and just for Chaos and Ice to somewhat compete at the last show, and for them to reunite and have a moment together, because I felt it was important that for Chaos's story to kind of I guess tie up the loose ends and also get the closure with him and the Dark Ice character. I thought it was important to have them walk out as the final tag champs, being the only tag team that won the ICWS and WZWA tag team titles. I thought it was important because they were a pretty big part of tag team wrestling evolving in WA.
And I think to follow that up before we sort of review what we thought of it, I mean, I'd like to hear first from you. Was there any kind of apprehension on Ice's part? How did Ice feel about doing the segment, and what level of involvement was he willing to participate in? And then from Chaos, to follow that up, how was your feeling about the SPWS reunion? Were you feeling satisfied that you got to sort of do it, or were you wishing that it could have been more of a complete match?
Well, all right. Well, with Ice, he had broke his collarbone again, and At the time, I was a little bit upset because I kind of felt like he was very quick to say afterward that he wouldn't be at the last show because it was, I think there was a wedding on. And he was very quick to say he won't be at the last show, but best of luck. And I thought, geez, dude, we're a few months away. Surely you'd still want to find a way to be there and be involved in some way, even if you can't have a match. Because at that point, before he got injured, he was actually slated to wrestle Dan Zeppelin for the SBWS title, which is why we had to kind of go in a separate direction with that story. So, at first I was a bit cross and I was like, I don't understand, dude. Like, come on, you have to be a part of the last show. I mean, I know it's a family member's wedding, but at what time is that wedding? Like, you can be there earlier in the day to do something. You don't have to have a match, but you can be involved. And then that's kind of when I pitched to him, I'd really love for you and Chaos to... All you got to do is deliver one last double choke slam. We'll just make it quick. We'll have Kyle and Deacon fight before the match even begins, and just one of them feeds one to the wolves, basically, and gets mauled, and they lose the tag titles, and you guys get to kind of once again tie off that loose end and reunite properly, and we finally get to see SPWS in the war zone. And as the weeks went on, he was still umming and ahhing about it, and I still didn't understand why he wouldn't be just jumping straight on board with it. It just seemed like he was looking for a way to just not do it or be a part of it. So eventually, as we got closer, he finally said, yeah, I'll do it, but we've got to get it done quite early. And then obviously mentioning the involvement of Viper and all that with Chaos's match with Alex, that was a whole other thing to say, look, we've also got this other thing with Viper coming back, and I'd like you to be a part of that too, so we'll try and get it all done very quickly for you. So we finally got him on board, but at first there was apprehension and just this strange circumstance where it looked like he was trying to get out of coming to the show just because of this wedding.
And in light of that, when you sort of give your take on it, Chaos, what was your feeling about the whole Dark Ice situation? Not just the sort of creative side of it, but what was your feeling about the whole arrangement of the whole thing, and what was your sort of take on where Ice's head was at the time, and just that kind of thing?
Well, it definitely seemed like Ice was really not putting as much commitment as he should have been. To be honest, he is my friend, he is my brother, but I'm as I could recall, I may be wrong, but he was actually keen on doing something at Wrestleution, and then later on said that he couldn't do it because he didn't notice that the invitation on the fridge was the same date.
That's right.
As Wrestleution, and that he couldn't do anything and he couldn't make it, and he's very hesitant. All in all, come on, man. I know he had a fractured collarbone, but we're not in Saudi Arabia, we're not in the UK, we're not in fucking America, and we're not putting on 5-star fucking shows. You can swing your legs, you can swing your other arm. I'm pretty sure he could have done more, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a bit more. I was satisfied with what happened, because I'm going to tell you what, when I came out to Walk With Me Through Hell and Land Club, one of our favourite bands, and what was our original tag team theme song, and I heard the pop. I was already psyched for what was going to happen, but when I heard that pop, and you can see in the video, there's a whole overcharge of energy in me. I was so fucking happy. I was content in that moment, and I loved being beside him. I really wish we had more, but that would just be me being greedy, because I was very fucking satisfied with just that pop. I really wanted to have a match, because I haven't had a tag team match since me and Three Dog, and I kind of wanted that. When I think about wrestling, I think about the singles shit, but also think about the tag team stuff, which I fucking love. And of course, when you get to do it with your brother, it makes it that much better. I don't feel like he was on the same level as me. Sadly, I was so happy to fucking do this. If it was after 3-4 fucking matches, if I had to do like quadruple duty, I would have still done a tag team match with SPWS. If I could go back, I'd probably try even harder to convince him to do more, and especially that we had the angle of NC Viper coming in, which would have been so much better if we got a bit more interaction with them, a bit more interaction with me and Viper, and you know, if me and Viper and Ice took a few hits in Viper's favour, that would have been so much cooler as well. You know, if I said that I wasn't happy with what had happened, I would lie. I'd be lying, because I fucking loved what did happen, just that. But like I said, if I could be greedy, I would definitely want much more, and especially that he had a fractured collarbone. I can do most of the work. He is a big guy. He doesn't have to do a moonsault. He doesn't have to do a choke slam on his with his fractured collarbone. He could do so much more, and we know that from Dark Ice because he's a goddamn fucking competitor, and he puts on amazing matches. All in all, like I said, I'm happy, and I'd love to hear what everybody else has to say as well, because when I heard that pop, there must have been at least 30, 40 people that had a good take on what was going on and enjoyed what was happening.
Right on. Jack, what were your thoughts on seeing this take place?
Well, I've got a lot of opinions and thoughts on Wrestleution 5 that I've been waiting a year and a half to share.
Every now and then I get an inbox from Jack podcast
Yep.
at like 11:30 at night. I'm like, fuck, alright, we've got to do it at some point.
And this is one of them. Like, it was fucking sick. Like, it's always good to see Ice back in the ring. I feel like a lot of the whole injuries thing, like with his fractured collarbone and all that, like, come on, bro. You don't get to do this sort of shit often, man. Like, you know, we only do this. That's like the same reason I kick myself all the time for, like, back in 2016 when I just come to you just on the day and be like, nah, can't be fucked wrestling. Take me off the card, I'm not wrestling today.
Yeah.
Like, I regret that shit now because, like, you're never about wrestling, and I hope if you listen to this, I hope you feel the same way about, like, not doing a bit more on the last show. I definitely agree with Chaos. Like, it was good, satisfied with what I saw. Like, you know, it's the character and the history that you've got between the characters involved in the match and what's taking place and NC Viper and all that. It was a fucking awesome story, but I feel like there could have been more, and that would have been like a longer match. And the part about it that kind of annoyed me the most was the fact that it was the last match for the tag titles. And, you know, like me and Monet and Circus Royale, Rebellion, all those other teams that fucking years prior were all battling for that fucking tag title.
Yeah, you're actually saying something I missed there, so...
Like, we did so much for, like, for that division, exactly. Like that triangle ladder match at Wrestleution.
We made it work.
We did, and it was a great division, and it was just, I wish that there was a little more for the finish, the tag title division. Like, I feel like I wish there was a couple more teams that could have at least kept the division alive until the very last show, and that way that we wouldn't have had to have, you know, people doing triple duty and shit like that just so we can have the tag titles be the proper send-off. That's the only thing that I really didn't like about the match, was that the fact it was for the tag titles. It just felt to me as sort of like a filler. Like it was just an excuse to kind of just send the tag titles off. Not saying what happened in the match was bad, not saying anything like that. It was still a good match. It was like absolutely awesome to see NC Viper back. And as well as it kind of just gave us the close off for the storyline between Ice and Viper. But that definitely feel like there should have been a lot more to it. But of course, what's happened has happened in previous shows. So a lot of it was out of our control, unfortunately. But it's just the way it is. If it was up to me, I definitely would have probably had another triangle ladder match.
Yeah, even a nice tag team gauntlet.
Yeah, it's just something sick. But then again, like a lot of the teams had split. There weren't a lot of stables of tag teams left by the end.
See, all these thoughts would have probably run through my mind, but at the same time, I'm just like, I got everyone. I had nothing left. I had to put Circus Royale back together just to, even though they were feuding, just to get something you know, and I thought it was cool that they could be a 2-time tag team champions as well.
There's a lot of factors that fucked it up and made it hard, but it is what it is.
Just the way it is. DJ, I want to know how you felt about that segment in general as well.
Well, I'll keep it short and sweet, and I'll just say that, you know, I loved it. I thought that, you know, I think that for me as a fan, it was just important that there was some form of closure on the whole SPWS, you know, history. And, you know, I really enjoyed it. I mean, as the others have kind of said before me, you know, of course it would have been great if Ice had been able to wrestle, but that's out of his control. So you can't, you know, it's nothing like against him or anything like that. I think he did well. I think that the crowd like popped for both guys. You know, the segment went over really well. The whole thing with Viper coming out and everyone, the reaction that garnered from the crowd, that wouldn't have happened without that match that Ice initially had with Viper. If he hadn't have put in that performance to set the whole thing up,
That is true.
there wouldn't have been that payoff at Wrestleution 5 when Viper did come out. And I think that, you know, even though we can say about like what could have been or what if this or what if that, but at the end of the day, the fact that there was an appearance by SPWS, who, you know, it was a backyard wrestling organization that consisted mainly of like, you know, 2-3 people at most, and they ended up leaving this huge legacy on backyard wrestling on the West Coast. So you can't ask for more than that, giving them a proper send-off. You know, last ever WZWA Tag Team Champions, which they'd never held those tag titles before. And that officially kind of makes them maybe the most dominant tag team in the history of backyard wrestling in WA. So, yeah, I loved it.
And it went with what I was saying, which I promoted earlier on before Wrestleution, was I had this crusade. And the crusade was to come off better than when we started. You know, and that was it. That's what I said, that this is what could have happened.
Yeah.
If my crusade kept going on, we would have had this, we would have had this illustrious career, we would have done so many other things, and yeah, so...
I think all those failed attempts at getting the SPWS to reunite, I think the failed attempts were worth me being like, fuck's sake, just for that pop.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think after you guys feuded early on in WCWA, then he was going to do what he was going to do with the Black Carnival and becoming champion and all that, and you were going to keep on your thing. By the end of that, you guys were supposed to get together. But then you wanted to work with Three Dogs, so that extended you away from Ice a little bit longer. But then I think towards the tail end of either that year or the next year, you two were supposed to get back together. It didn't happen again, and I think the tail end of 2015, you guys were supposed to get back together again, and he got hurt. He broke his ankle. So I think just for the fucking sake of that pop, it was perfect that it never actually happened before that. But another point I wanted to touch on was something that I noticed when the 3 count took place was the people were ready for a fucking match. They were ready for, alright, we had the fun mask battle royal, but now, alright, I want to get my teeth sunk into it. And I felt like the air just went out of the place, went on. That was it. It's quick. I guess no one really realised that Ice just was not going to be doing anything physical, and it had to be quick.
We didn't, but we could have.
Yeah, even if you took the brunt of the heat or whatever of Circus trying to fucking do whatever they can to take you down, and then you give Ice the hot tag. I'm sure he could run in and give a couple of clotheslines, a big boot. I'm not asking him to do the back thing in the corner where he jumps up and does the kick as well. You know, I don't know if he can do a wasteland with his collarbone, but if he could have come in for a hot tag and then send one of the guys to the outside and you two hit the double choke slam 1, 2, 3, that could have been something. But at the same time, you know, this is what he was comfortable with, and
I was
just a matter of nothing, basically.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, like,
I had to adhere to what he wanted because I was worried that he just wouldn't show up if I was trying to push too much for certain things.
I think that,
not that he would do that, but
I mean,
just saying, it's always a concern.
It's also important to remember, you know, if you're in that mindset of like, oh, I've got an injury, you know, I don't want to make that injury worse. You know, it's easy in practice for us to sort of like
say what he should have done,
postulate on like what we think could have or should have happened, but at the end of the day, you know, you never want to ask somebody to do something they're not comfortable with at any level of wrestling, and especially not in backyard wrestling where the name of the game is just meant to be fun. That's the end of the bottle.
Right on.
You know, so I think that as much as it would have been great to just see Ice have one last hurrah, I also think that, you know, I personally was just glad to see him get a moment on the show and sort of...
That's all it really was. It was a moment.
Yeah.
It wasn't a match, it was a moment. Right, I guess we should move on. We're 45 minutes in and we're only at the second match.
It's good though. We you know, we gave some good...
It's some good insight. So the next match was the Vincent Graves Open Challenge, which happened at Wrestleution 4, and it was called the Open Challenge because obviously I didn't know who his opponent was until the week of the show. I've already given the backstory in part 1 about the situation with wanting Acid. Acid can't do it. Tim was going to do it. Tim fucking fell off the map. Lowe needed an opponent. Here we go. It wasn't an ideal matchup to put. I never really thought of a Brian Lowe Vincent Graves match. You know, it was just what the circumstances were. So these two were thrown into this circumstance, not knowing who one another is, but they needed an opponent, and this was just all I could give them. But I tell you what, before I get to everyone else, they hit it out of the park, and they took a potential awkward situation with Lowe having not wrestled in 2 years, and Gareth not knowing Lowe, and might have been a bit tough for him to wrestle someone he didn't know. You know, Gareth's experience level at that point was basically only about, you know, a year and a half worth since his return to ICWS. So I was pretty proud of them in the performance that they gave, and I'd like to start this one off with Jack.
I feel like Vincent Graves versus Brian Lowe was the match that no one in the WZWA arena ever wanted to see, but will never regret seeing.
Yeah.
Like, it was the match we didn't know we needed, but we did.
Fully agree.
Like, it was fucking...
It's like it just didn't make sense to put them against one another.
It was something that, like, fucking the SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 GM mode would do.
Yeah.
And it worked out well. Like, they had a fucking sick match together. I actually feel like I would love to see a feud with them if the WZWA wasn't to close their doors that day. And, like, that's all that's really to it. It's that match that no one really knew they wanted to see.
And my initial idea for Lowe for the final show was actually to wrestle Ventriloquist, but because of the falling out just before the ICWS, or just after the ICWS final show, I knew I had to pivot and figure something else out.
And that was like, I don't think that's something that we necessarily want to go into. I don't know if either one of those guys would appreciate us sort of like airing that out. But,
Lowe's already talked about it on his podcast. I thought you'd listen to it, DJ.
I said I'd listen to parts of it.
Right, okay, my bad.
Sorry, continue.
No, that's. I wanted the Rebellion to clash at the final show and couldn't get it lined up. So doesn't matter. What we got was probably better, especially for Jacob and Dan, which we'll talk about later. DJ, you're very close to this one because Vinny G is your boy. I want to know what you thought about the match, but if you had any conversations with Gareth about him not knowing who he's actually going to fucking wrestle at the final show or anything like that.
Well, the thing is, we've known, you know, from previous experience that Lowe is the kind of backyard wrestler that you stick him in a situation, you throw him into the deep end of the pool, he fucking swims to the shore, you know, or swims to the edge. And gets out triumphant and then dives back in. You know, he's always had that ability to sort of, you know, whether it was a squash match against Knuckles or a fucking, you know, a match against you when you first returned to ICWS. It doesn't matter whether he's known the person for long or any kind of thing like that, he just has a natural affinity for wrestling. Like the first time he had a match against Three Dog, they hardly knew each other, and like that match was
I think it was runner-up match of the year.
Yeah, so I think that from Lowe's point of view, we saw the kind of thing we were used to seeing from Lowe, just rising to the occasion without even realizing that he was doing anything special. He just went out there and had a match. But obviously, yeah, I mean, Gareth is one of my best mates, and he was someone that really took wrestling seriously, and I think that was what enabled him to perform so well in the brief time that he was back in backyard wrestling. Was he actually took it seriously? When I taught him how to take a bump or taught him how to do this or that, he actually learned it, paid attention to it.
The improvements with him were insurmountable after you worked with him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I don't want to take any credit for that though, because that was all him. But the point was, he was someone that for a long time kept on saying to me, I want to become involved in this, and I would sort of be like, because all the previous years you sort of expressed that you're not into wrestling and stuff, and he was like, man, I'm back into it, man. I'm a different person now. I'm more confident.
He was supposed to debut a lot earlier. So
once he finally got back in there and I saw his first performance and I realized, he really wants to do it. And then I was like, he's capable of doing a lot, especially with his size and stuff like that. He's actually quite a good athlete already. He'd been doing Taekwondo and stuff like that for quite some time. He never really, I don't remember him expressing too much to me in a very serious way about, I've never even met this guy. I think he might have had some trepidation of like, this guy's a stranger. I hope I don't hurt him. I hope he doesn't hurt me. But I honestly wasn't a part of the planning of that match or anything leading up to it. I wasn't around when they had the conversation of sort of discussing the match or introducing one another, anything like that. So I can't say that I had any part in it, but I do think that this was just an example of two guys that genuinely just loved the feeling of being in the ring and the adrenaline that they got from having a match. And the fact that they both had that attitude of like, when I go out there, I want to go hard and I want to have a great match. I think that was just, the two of them both had the same attitude about wrestling, even though they came from different backgrounds and they were strangers beforehand. That resulted in a really good match. I think that for Gareth, it was probably, for him, I know that he was really proud of the match. I know that Lowe was pleased that he went up against this guy that he had never met before, that didn't have a lot of experience, and managed to have a really great match with him. I personally, as a fan, I thought the match was phenomenal. I thought that it made sense from a psychology point of view. I definitely think that, it was a damper, as we mentioned in part one, to have some people heckling and making comments and stuff, because in my opinion, that match was hard hitting. The bumps were right on point. It was a physical affair, and for me, it was just a phenomenal match. I don't think you could have asked for any better. I think that match that the two of them had could have been a main event on basically any show, whether it was WZWA or ICWS, and everyone would have been going away from those shows feeling like, man, the main event was pretty sick. Yeah. So I think that, the idea that people were actually kind of heckling him and having a go at him for certain things is just ridiculous. Gareth, some of the stuff that Vincent Graves would do in the ring was unorthodox compared to the traditional method of executing certain things, but there's a lot of great wrestlers that were unorthodox. When does Ric Flair ever take a proper flat back bump? He never does, but he's still the greatest wrestler of all time. And I'm not certainly comparing backyard wrestling to Ric Flair. I'm just saying that when two people are really passionate about wrestling and they want to go out there and give the best performance they can, it results in something special. And I think we saw something special, and we saw, lightning in a bottle.
I think out of the three people that it could have been his potential opponent, we got the best one that we could have had.
Yeah.
If it was Tim, it might not have gone that well.
Would've
Now
been
that I
fucked
think
because
about it,
Tim-
if Jacob
Tim-
can't have a good match with Tim, I don't know if Gareth can.
Because Tim wouldn't have cooperated.
No, he would have been calling the match and he would have just fucked it all up probably. And I think maybe with Acid as well, I think maybe because Acid hadn't done it in a while either, if he'd ended up doing it, I don't think it would have worked out that well either. It might have been alright, but
I think that match, a hypothetical match between Acid and Vincent Graves, would have been good because the two of them were actually good friends.
I'm not sure if Vincent would be
Like
able to
like the two of
take
them- the two-
Acid's moves.
No, because
Right,
the
you
two
know.
of them had spent quite a bit of time together. They liked each other. They're friends.
I just don't see Vincent Graves being thrown around and hit with
But
power moves like Acid
I
does. You know?
don't see it being as good as the match with Lowe ended up being. But I agree. I think that Lowe was the best possible opponent.
Chaos.
Well, yeah, no, I definitely agree. I'd say Lowe always has a habit of pulling the rabbit out of the proverbial hat.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had this experience with him when it came to the hardcore title gauntlet we had. And I didn't really get to work much with Lowe, but when I did, I'd say that part in the hardcore gauntlet was probably like one of the best matchups in it. And we hit what we wanted to hit. We didn't even talk that much. We just connected. And Lowe always has that connection. He has a habit where he wrestles you, and in about 30 seconds, he's already knowing what's happening. He's going with the flow. He's getting in there. And yeah, he has that habit. How he does it, I don't know. And it's just always lovely to watch him wrestle. And he was always happy to take some high spots. He's always happy to take a beating, and he's always happy to do whatever he has to, and he always makes it look good. And him versus Gareth was really good, and on Gareth's part, he had improved so much with the help of DJ and the help of just wrestling in general and getting that experience and getting his body into it and him going with the flow. It, as Jack said, it was something we didn't know that we needed to see, but when we saw it, we were satisfied.
We're happy to see
we're
it.
glad. We took that and we were like, yeah, we'll take this with us. And it's a great fucking match.
That fucking back suplex.
Yeah, that back suplex, the sidewalk slam, everything about it. It's just really good. It's not a shit match. There's nothing that was really shit about it.
No.
Really. If you could say they had to move a bit faster or anything, that's really just nitpicking.
Yeah.
Because they did really, really good.
Mm.
And I'm glad. And another thing was, I'm glad that was another thing where what you were trying to do was trying to get wrestlers versing people they hadn't had before, and especially that you didn't have anyone for Gareth. There was 3 that could have. The best choice was definitely Lowe, because he can do that.
I'm just glad we had that open challenge at Wrestleution 4, so it made sense for him to have another one.
Exactly.
And, the first time around, he got the Mexicraps and Mojo Flow. This time he gets a former champion. And I also want to comment on the pop that Lowe got when he fucking burst through the curtain.
Exactly.
Very reminiscent of the SPWS one. It's like, oh, fuck yeah. We all
missed
knew Lowe was going to be there. He was already in his outfit and all that shit. We all knew. But it still got the pop. It's like, fucking thank God to see him back and be a part of this with everyone else. Because as Lowe said in his podcast, he should have never left. And he feels like he really regrets it. But it was good to have him there. And I don't think I ever mentioned, but Lowe won the match with the Low to Sleep on Vincent Graves.
So sick that
And he did that in front of his girlfriend, who has nice tits.
Oh, bro, she's stacked as fuck,
so
bro.
pure,
Actually,
man.
she wasn't at the show, but still, she's got nice set of
I just
tits,
wanted to
man.
say
Yeah,
that.
she's stacked as
I just
fuck,
wanted to say
bro.
because I know Lowe's going to
Oh, man, I'd love to suck on those tits.
I've never met her, so
I've
I'm
never
just
seen
saying.
her.
Oh, she was at the
I've never
reunion
seen her.
party, bro. Did you not see her? Man, she was stacked
I
as
probably
fuck,
wasn't. Dude,
bro.
do you know how fucking cooked I was at the reunion party, though?
You always cooked cunt.
I didn't even know what the fuck was
You're
going
like
on.
Rob Jenkinson 2.0. All right.
Whatever, man.
The next match. This is the 4th match of the show. We are now at 58 minutes. Kilowatt Chaos takes on Alex Stone. This match was booked because this feud was booked because Alex always said his first opponent was Chaos. He would like his last opponent to be Chaos. And I knew with not doing Chaos versus Ice, which I wasn't even going to go with anyway, it's going to be Ice and Zeppelin, I knew that it would mean something to Chaos as well to have Alex as his final opponent. So with them being long-time chums, I knew that this is where we were headed, so I think we started something off with the Battlefield Brawl, and then we just kind of went from there to reconvene with this feud that had happened kind of in ICWS and in WZWA in 2013. So that was kind of the idea, and it was going to be in Alex's very well-known stipulation of false count anywhere. Chaos, I'll let you start off on this one because it is your final match. That's the background of why it was booked. How are you feeling about it? And also, how did you feel about the match?
Yeah, how I was feeling about before was I still had those nerves and jitters when I was going back and forth, and it was going to be the last match, so I really wanted to make it be good. And me and Alex previously, we wrestled in WZWA, and we had a back and forth exchange of promos.
Yes.
And I wanted to keep that because...
I wanted to bring that back because when it happened, it got a pop from the boys like, whoa, Alex called Chaos a fat cunt. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Which
he had actually done before in real life. We had a bit of a falling out.
Oh, right.
He actually got the balls and actually said it. And, but of course, we're still friends. So, we reconciled in that. And moving on, I was definitely looking forward to it, and it definitely made sense. And Alex has said this before, that I pushed him to get into ICWS. I wanted him into wrestling. Every time I saw him, we still talked about wrestling. It still brought us together. And then finally, he agreed to come to ICWS. And he gave me the kudos of bringing him in and getting him involved because, of course, he's had so much fun and he's got so many great memories. And
this is the guy that you used to wrestle in the pool when you were younger.
Yeah, we used to smash the shit out of each other.
This is before Ice, isn't it?
Yes, it was before Ice. He would lock me in a Walls of Jericho in a pool. Now, you can't do that without one person getting drowned,
Ridiculous.
So I was face down, and he'll lock it in where I couldn't breathe, and I'd have to pinch his leg or, basically pretend I was drowning to prank him and scare him. We even used to do it on mattresses in, a small room where we'd bash the crap out of each other. At school, same thing happened. He had he actually had two title belts, one Intercontinental, but it was just the plate. And another was a Smoking Skull belt. He'd never bring that to school, but he'd bring the Intercontinental plate. We used to have wrestling matches where it was literally just shoot fighting to get this little fucking it was the old Intercontinental title plate.
The good one.
Yeah, the good one, and it was that one. And I remember the first time I wrestled him, the first thing I did as a fat cunt, somehow slid underneath his legs, locked him in an ankle lock, won it. I carried that plate everywhere I went like I was an actual champion, put it on my desk in every class I went, right on top. If anyone asked me to, the teacher, I'd take that off. I told him to go suck my fucking chaotic cock. This is who I am. I won it fair and square. Fuck you, Mr. Pinnock.
Who?
Pinnock.
I don't know who that is.
Fuck you. Anyway, that's what happened. And you know what? That was the thing. I am digressing. That was the thing. It was... Me and him have got that, we've got the chemistry, we know how to do things well. It's another thing where we don't have to always say what we're going to do. It just comes naturally. We've always had great matches, and the best thing is, I was very honoured for him to turn around and go, look man, I want you to be my last, you're my first. Very sexual, no. But I was very honoured, and I wanted to hit with that promo thing. I wanted to do a nice... I did about 3-4 fucking drafts of that promo. And as DJ would know, because he was hearing me in the hallway doing these fucking promos. And I wanted to hit it hard. And you know what? He retaliated, and it just flowed so fucking well. And then we came to the match, and the match was pretty good. I actually was pretty satisfied with it. It was a hot day, we were doing it the day, and man, if it was, I'd say if it was any just a moderately cooler, I reckon we would have gone a bit harder and faster. But for how it was like our classic backyard wrestling match. Where it was hot, we fucking got the best of each other, and of course NC Viper was involved. I fucking loved that. We did a thing. Thanks NC Viper for giving me the for coming out looking like a fucking top cunt with his because he's the one that said, I'm going to delay on the 3. I want you to look me dead in the eye and tell me something. And I said, how would I say, like, do it, you old bastard. And he's like, yeah, man, that's what I want.
He was into it, man.
Yeah. Actually, I think he actually suggested that. I think I said, I'll just say, do it. And he's like, no. Say, do it, you old bastard. Don't know where that was coming from, if he was trying to, trying to get something in for him. It's a little push. He was going to AA dub, maybe he needed a bit of a fucking a push to be angrier and motivated. But yeah, that was so awesome. The match was great. Falls count anywhere. I always see Alex as the Jericho of our Fed, which it's one of his favourite wrestlers, if not his favourite. So yeah, and I think we did really well, and I love the connection we had. And if Alex ever wanted to wrestle again, whether it be on a schoolyard, fucking pool, or in a ring again, I'd fucking take you up on it, buddy, because you're one of my best mates. And yeah, man, I love you, Alex. And yeah,
do you feel at all maybe the forcing of the NC Viper angle into the match? Do you think it took away from it at all? Do you feel like maybe it overshadowed Alex a little bit because it ended up being a little bit more about Viper and SPWS more than Alex and you?
I think it would have if Alex didn't come out after the tag team match.
Right.
When we were talking shit about Viper. Because Viper came out, we smashed on Viper, Alex came out. And that's when it
I think that's probably why I booked it, because I was like, I've got to get Alex up somehow.
It didn't just become about like, me and Viper, or me and Alex. It became about me and Viper and Alex, and you had, of course, Ice, which that's how it all got introduced.
Yeah.
And even though like all 4 of us were into it, it became about SPWS, NC Viper.
And these different stories ended up intertwining in this one thing.
And I think it did really well, and I think like that was a great idea, man, because at be all end all, man, it did taper to be what it should have been, and I don't think it took anything away from Alex, and I think we had a great fucking match, and I let him, the recap might show different, but I really wanted him to give it fucking to me, and I wanted him to smash me a bit, and that he's not just some guy that's a part-timer in yarding. I wanted him to get his shit on me and be like one of my greatest adversaries.
Excellent. Jack, thoughts on the whole thing?
It was fitting, I reckon. It was fitting to have them to go out the way. I feel like as opponents, there isn't such a big history as there is. It's more of a personal thing. So I feel like it was more of a match that only the boys would really appreciate to the full extent that Chaos would appreciate it too. Overall, though, I thought it was probably one of their better matches together. And of course, the inclusion of NC Viper was it's always fucking sick to see NC Viper or any professional for that matter step into the yard and make a cameo appearance, and that only added so much more to it. And it definitely made one of the matches one of those standout sort of matches on the show. I mean, it may have technically not have been the best wrestling match in the show. It may not have been the best sort of match with the best story on the show. But I guess to all of us, it was a big deal because of the relationship between Chaos and Alex, and also the NC Viper appearance. And on top of that as well is the last show. Alex gave it his all. Chaos gave it his all. It was all around. It was a good match. I did enjoy it a lot. It wasn't one of those matches that dragged on either, which was it was straight to the point. It was no fucking around or dropping.
At that point, we were professional enough to know when it's time to go home and when it's time to keep going. So
yeah, it was. It's one of them matches. It was one of the dark horses on the card.
For sure,
in my opinion.
I also just quickly have to add, I know I've said like a whole heap, but I quickly have to add that was also so cool that I came out with SPWS. can't believe I actually forgot that. But to have Dan and Luke come out with
Oh, that's right. Dan did join
Yeah,
us.
Dan came out, and you know what? There's a picture that I've got saved to my phone. Is of after that match. It's me, Dan, and Ice. Just our last picture is SPWS, and you know I was really fucking.
What, on the stage?
No, not on stage. Just behind.
Back,
just
I think I
behind
took that
Ice.
picture.
Yeah. You know, I'm sweaty, of course, and because it was after the Alex match, we're holding up our tag team titles, and I was really on the tab.
And at that point, you're thinking it's your last match.
Yeah.
DJ, keep it short.
No, well, I think that, my feelings about that match probably echo what you guys have been saying. I thought it was a really fitting end. I remember the first time that I saw Alex wrestle, I was like, oh, this guy's not going to be committed to it, he'll show up for like 1 or 2 shows, and then he'll leave again. And, I was pleasantly surprised that I was wrong. He was into it, he was passionate about it, and I think that, there was no better opponent for Alex to finish his backyard wrestling tenure against than Kilowatt Chaos. And, I think the match was really good. I thought it flowed well. I thought you could see that these were two guys that were used to wrestling each other. But at the same time, it felt fresh because they hadn't tussled in a while. And I guess overall, I just felt like it was a really, fitting way to cap off that part of their careers and that part of their lives, I guess. Like that friendship and that history that they had together. And overall, I just feel like it. The match was great. I think both of them did really well, and I think you couldn't have asked for a better way to sell off Alex Stone.
Excellent. Me personally, just quickly, I was very happy with the match, but as I said before, I did have concerns about Alex. He was such a big part, that big story that he and I had in the Elite Alliance thing, and then his title reign, but then he became part-time after that. But he was such a big part, and he was top babyface for so long. I felt almost worried that his exit wasn't as put up on a pedestal as I think he. Yeah, meaning. I think something. It was meaningful. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like I've tried my hardest to get him there at every show in the last 6 months, but he wasn't there at every show. So, as I said in the car on the way here, I was concerned with him not being there so much that the build-up wasn't going to be as important as I really wanted it to be.
Because of the just tiny components missing.
Yeah, and that was the only thing I was concerned about, but also, me needing to force the NC Viper thing, and all I was worried about was I don't want Alex to feel like he was an afterthought. I hope that he's satisfied, and I've spoke to him about it since, and he's like, man, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm happy with how it all ended and all that stuff. So, but loved it, and little did Chaos know at that point that his career was not over yet.
The end?
Next match is probably one of my fucking favourite matches on the show because, well, come on, we love all these cunts. The Extreme Trampoline Wrestling Championship is on the line as Big Ace takes on Deacon Whalen, Arthur Aries, and the final ETW champion at that point, the Rat Kyle Inglis.
Right.
These four had to have this match as their final match. It had to be a 4-way. They all had to be there together. And I had this idea for quite a while where, I'd been trying to convince Aries to come back a few times, and he was still a little bit embarrassed about the way that he exited in 2014. Oh, sorry, 2015. But I always said to Kyle and Deacon, this is what I want to do eventually. I do want all of you in there, and I even wanted to have Lars in there if he was going to stick around to make it like a 5-way, but he ended up obviously not being there either, and disappearing from WZWA, but because of the whole ankle thing that he had going on. But this just made all the sense in the world to reconvene again with ETW, all all battling one another in the final show, and it was really a vehicle to. I said to Carl and Deacon, for this one, finally, this one's going to be about Ace. It's this whole time it's been pretty much about Carl and Deacon. And then when Aries made his return, it was a little bit about him too, but I felt like Ace, he came, third in Wrestler of the Year or something like that.
And he deserved it.
Yeah, he become very fucking good, and I was like, he's going over in this match. He's earned something, he's earned the spotlight this time, and they couldn't have been more nice about it, and you're right, that's a good idea, that's what we should do. So,
because who the fuck doesn't love Ace, man? He's
when he was just killing it after that match with Chaos in, I don't know if it was late 2016, but after that match, whenever it was just like boom, like Ace is on fucking fire every fucking show. So I was so proud of him, and this is all a vehicle for him, but also all four of them to go out together because they started together. So Jack, I think we'll start with you. Sorry, I'm worried that he's getting tired. That's all. So I want to keep his mind stimulated.
No, I definitely feel like Ace was the deserving winner in this one. Throughout the first couple of years of him at WZWA, let's go with early 2014, I felt like out of the ETW guys he's always the bottom, and then slowly but surely he's made his way up, and then eventually he got there, and then tail end WZWA, in my opinion, he was one of the best in the ETW group. It was more just the progression of his character, and not so much the quality of his character at the end of it, but more the progression that was the inspiring part, and the part that makes you go, holy fuck. Because you look at him at, let's go, Pro Wrestling 2014, and you look at him at Wrestleution 5, a huge difference. Like, you may as well just call them two completely different fucking people.
Yeah.
And, it was when Ace started bringing out the Shazam and all that sort of stuff, he just... I
think when he became babyface, it was pretty good for him,
It was once he got that confidence in, and you could see during the match in the four-way, it was just his confidence was through the roof. He was taking some brutal chair shots to the head from Aries. But overall, I'll get off Ace's dick. Like, the match overall was it was one of my favorites on the card, and in my opinion was it's up there for the best multi-man match in the history of WZWA. Like, it was it was a spot fest, but everything made fucking sense.
Flowed as well.
It flowed. There was everything. Heaps of it was in between. Like in between every spot, there was just everything.
Yeah.
So there was something happening, and that was the good part about it, was there wasn't heaps of shit going on at once. Like the boys somehow managed to make it so the focus was be on one spot at a time, and they had the focus right. Like, there wasn't too much outside the ring spot. There wasn't too much in ring stuff. Like, it was a good mix of everything. And I don't think you could ask for a better four-way than the one that they gave us. And on top of that, Ace was the perfect winner for it. So kudos to all involved. Like, I thought it would have been a bit of a hard match to sort of pull off, considering like Ace's skill level compared to, let's say, Kyle and Deacon, who've been doing it for much longer than him, and also just been doing it a lot more than fucking Ace was. And then to see Ace perform the way he did in the last show, keeping up with all of them, as well as pretty much going above and beyond everyone else in his match, was something else.
Excellent. DJ, you put your hand up before?
Yeah, well, it was only because I had some...
Did you have a question or something?
No. It's just that I thought of the perfect thing to say, and I can still remember it now, so it's fine. But, I think that this four-way at Wrestleution 5 was the culmination not only of Ace's improvement as a wrestler, but this shy kid who was, conscious about his weight, conscious about the way that he looked. Over the time that he had been in WZWA, he had come out of his shell. It's the power of backyard wrestling. All these people around him that rallied around him, that loved him, that cared about him. He had come out of his shell so much by that point. He had lost weight. He was fitter. He was fucking going great guns. And then to see, because I really love Ace. I think he's just got a heart of gold. He's a phenomenal phenomenal human being. He's never had a bad word to say about anyone, doesn't have a mean bone in his body, and he deserved it for one thing. But not only did he deserve it, but he fucking earned it with his performance in that match and others. And, take nothing away from the rest of them, because I'm big fans of all 4 guys, and I thought it was just a fantastic match. And I remember when the match was actually going on, I was like, how the fuck is anything going to top this?
Had to be a Warnbro Street fight. Had to be.
This is an absolutely amazing match, and I ate up every second of it. But to just see Ace, feeling confident, feeling comfortable in front of all of his peers and his friends who loved and respected him, a person who, prior to coming into WZWA, really didn't have that confidence and stuff, and he didn't have that ability to come out of his shell. But now here he was. We were seeing who Ace really was, and he just kicked ass. Every single thing that he did in the match went off without a hitch. He, in my opinion, was not just the MVP of that match, but one of the MVPs of the entire show. I could not have been more proud or more happy to see him win that match, and not only just his performance, but the rest of the boys as well just gave the performance of a lifetime, and there could not have been a better way to send off the careers of those 4 guys in backyard wrestling than through that match. And that's all I've got to say.
It had to be. It just had to be them reconvening again. I know that basically almost everything Kyle did and Deacon did at a Wrestleution was involved with either each other or some of the other Warnbro boys. But one thing I did want to say before I get to Chaos is how proud I am of Aries.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm proud of that dude because I gave him 5 chances. It's a lot of opportunities, and he was quite rude at one stage when I was upset about him not showing up again. But what I'm proud of is the fact that he owned up to it and said, sorry, I would love to come back, because I asked again. I was like, Kyle, ask him. I'd love him to be there for the last few shows. Try and get him to wrestle as many people as possible. He did double duty a few times as well. But I don't want that kid to live with the regret that he left and he didn't come back and finish what he started, because I saw so much potential in him in the early days. I was like, God, I see him as a backyard champion one day. I see him as a rising singles star.
He could go pro, man, if he wanted.
Yeah, he was doing the training, but he's after Chaos is done talking about, I'll tell you a little story about Aries and his stint with pro, or pro training anyway.
Aries is one of those rare WZWA stories of someone, like a very rare, very, very rare WZWA redemption story.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that.
Him and Steele, man.
Yeah, Steele.
Brandon as well. I must have been Brandon as well.
I'm going to say, Brandon, Steele, and Arthur Aries, those are the...
That's redemption right there. Yeah. That's what Tim could have had.
That's being a fuckwit, owning up to it, and then being the last thing.
And I think he might have had about 10, 11 matches in 5 shows or something ridiculous like that. He wrestled on Backyard TV. He wrestled he wrestled twice. If someone didn't show up, he filled in because he wanted to make sure that
I'll quickly add this last little bit. Their performance at ICWS as well, amazing. Now, I know that you're pretty, good mates with Ace. You got a lot of time for him as well, man.
Yeah,
I'm really anxious to hear your.
All right, Chaos, fire away, bro. How did you feel about the match?
So I'll go on about the match. First, dude, the match, the Fatal 4-Way, it couldn't have been more of a perfect fit. All right, so these, apart from Lars, that's a bit of a miss there, but. These 4 guys, for their Fed coming in, was it's the best fit, man. These 4 guys came in together. Now, Deacon and Carl, they've already established that, they can bring it.
Yeah.
They can bring it. They've had excellent fucking matches. Every matches they've had, whether it's with themselves or with someone else, they do it fairly fucking well. Now, Aries, man, did we miss you? You know what, mate? We didn't know we missed you until you came back and you fucking brought it, man. He brought it. And I will say this because I think it was after I versed Ace, or before I versed Ace, I versed Aries. And dude, that was a good fucking match. It was another match where I didn't really talk much. We didn't really talk much about it. We just fucking did it. We went out there and it flowed fucking well. He's a great fucking wrestler and a great competitor. And I think, yeah, man, he could go pro. He's fucking fit. You see him now. He's
looking good.
He's a fucking blueprint, man. And I love Aries, and he's got great fucking charisma when he needs to. And in and out of the fucking wrestling, man, he is a great fucking bloke and awesome to talk to. And of course, Big Ace, big boy, man. I fucking love Ace, man. Along with a lot of people, I've tried to bring Ace out of his shell, and I've noticed that he's always got this geeky shit, and he always feels a bit hesitant to bring it out and make it part of his character. And I've always told him, man, fucking do it. The whole thing with Chaos was to be a bit Joker-esque, you know, and be a bit insane and unpredictable and you know, shit fuck crazy. And, you know, I said, man, just do it, man. And, you know, we get along well with pop culture, comics, fucking anime. We get along well, man. He and Aries, him and Aries are probably the guys that I voted all the time for most improved, especially Ace, man, because when he did start, he you know, he was trying to get in the groove, same with Aries, but man, come to the fucking tail end of WZWA, they fucking got in their groove, they fucking brought it, and they had a great match, and that fatal 4-way was fucking awesome, man, and I don't remember any bit of it being a bit dead in the middle or anything, because you know what, man, they did it, and they didn't make it a clusterfuck, they did it really fucking well, and it was all on all, and they did it really fucking well, and it really made you appreciate where they came from. ETW made you appreciate ETW. It was fucking great, man. That's what
I always felt like ETW was the forgotten federation. We always went on about XCW, ICWS, EBW, and SPWS, but
even when we weren't really, SPWS wasn't really a present thing. We still got a lot more spotlight. Yeah, we've got a lot more talked about than ETW.
That was just because of the natural respect that everyone had for the two of you. You know?
This is important for ETW, and I loved it. I fucking loved it, and you know, full respect to Kyle and Deacon for being so big of human beings.
Oh yeah, and take nothing away from
to be like, you know what, me and Kyle will be eliminated first, and we'll leave it to AAA to finish off the match. Like they had every right to be like, it should be one of us near the end. Nope, they were like, you two do it.
We have been talking a lot about the AAA guys. But you know, that doesn't mean that we don't fucking
definitely
appreciate. Because Kyle has always been, Kyle and Deacon have both always been two of my personal favourites as a fan. It just could not have been any better. It was perfect. You know, put that match up against anything else that you will see in the wrestling scene in Australia.
I mean, how about that when Aries had the Aries curse locked in on Deacon and Kyle hit that fucking curb stomp on Deacon? That's the moment of the match for me. Yeah. That's the moment of the match for me, and also Ace doing the splash off the ring apron through the table. How the fuck did that dude get the balls to do it then?
When I saw him get up onto the apron, I was like, no, man, he's not really going to fucking do it. And then, wham!
Yeah.
Bro. What a match.
Yeah, it was fantastic and a good way for all of them to go out. Obviously, Big Ace wins the ETW Championship in the last match that they all had there. Two little stories I wanted to tell about after the fact. Aries attempting pro wrestling training. Big Ace did as well with NHPW, but Aries quit, and I was a bit upset about it, and I said to him, come on man, like, I know that you can do this, I know how good you are, you've already got the basis of a great character there, you could be something big. And he said to me, it's just not the same, dude. I don't want to go through all this shit of learning all the intricate laws of the wrestling, I just want to do it. And that was when I realised, he's just a backyard wrestling dude. Like he could be a great pro wrestler, but he's happy.
Should we phrase it that way? You know,
he's just, that's fine. That's a compliment as far as I'm concerned. He's not one or the other. He's not a professional. He is just a backyard wrestler like the rest of us. If we were pro wrestlers, we'd be doing it now.
People like Delcano, and
he's a pro wrestler.
They're all pro wrestlers. There were backyard wrestlers with us, but they're pro wrestlers. People like Carl, Aries, Brandon, backyard wrestlers.
Backyard wrestlers, man.
Straight up.
I did the pro thing, but it was
Backyard
confirmation to me. I'm always going to be a backyard guy.
You and I, we both did some pro shows.
Yeah.
You know what?
And we realised, didn't we?
It's
realised
just
that
not
it was
the same.
It's not the
just
same.
not the
And that's
same.
what he realised. So I led up on him over that, and I realised, okay, this is the only reason why he did it is because he could do it with his friends. And one little story I want to tell about Ace, which is what I realised as Chaos was talking about, and was something really nice actually Ace did for me that I didn't realise until he told me. When we had the Yardie Awards, I wanted to create a little museum in my spare room, which obviously didn't go the way that I had planned it. I wanted to have a whole heap of wicked shit in there for everyone to look at, but some things weren't brought along. I wanted all the titles there, but we couldn't get them all there, and some people forgot some other things, but Ace put his mask in there, and you know, Dan put some of his stuff in there, and everyone had a little bit to add to it. Some people forgot their shit that day. I know Jacob left all his shirts behind and all this stuff, but Ace left his mask, and I was like, oh shit, you know, that's his mask. That's Ace's. You know, I don't want him to lose that. I'll make sure one day I get it back to him. And I don't know where I was. It was maybe some sort of party we all had, but Ace wasn't there. Maybe it was a reunion party. I'm not sure if he came to that. But I gave.
No, he was there.
He was. It must have been. It must have been something else.
Here and I was sitting there.
Yeah, Ace was at the reunion.
It must have been something else. Well, Kyle was there, and I gave the mask to Kyle because he was heading off, and I was like, "Can you please get that back to Ace? I don't want him to lose it. You know, I want him to get it back." And then eventually I asked Ace, "Hey man, did you get the mask back?" Because I know Kyle was a bit drunk at that point, so I was hopeful that he... And he's like, "Yeah, I did, but I didn't want it." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I was giving it to you to keep."
Nah.
And I was like, "Oh, dude,
man, he's such a
fucking
fucking
hell!"
You know what, man?
How'd I know? I fucking framed that shit and put it on the wall with a picture of Ace next to it.
I'm saying this right now, man.
Yeah.
Ace is just like, you know.
Now, if you didn't love him already, now you love him.
Steel and Ace, man, are just the two gems of this federation.
The fact that Steel's been described as a gem is insane, but it's fucking true.
He is, man.
It's
He
true.
fucking is. It's true.
We were there at his 21st birthday party, and fucking hell, how
He's just
fucking
got
great
such
was
a
that?
supportive family, and
His dad was just like, he wanted me to do a roast of his son at the birthday party. I'm like, all right, John. But
how do
yeah,
you say
man,
no to John, motherfucker?
you can't. You can't.
You don't, man.
You can't. Anyway, I want to tell that story because, fuck, how nice is that?
Yeah, it's just...
He
it's
thought
like-
so much of me that he wanted me to keep his mask. So, Ace, when I see you next, I want that fucking mask, thanks. I'm sorry.
You know what? And since we're
I'm
saying-
sorry. I should have kept it.
I'll just quickly say as well, man, it meant a lot to me at the end of the show when everyone was getting emotional and saying their hugs, and Ace, Aries came up to me and gave me a big hug and said, "Man, you don't know how much I appreciate like the support that you've given me and just like what you've done for backyard wrestling." And you know, this is someone who I don't really know that well outside of wrestling.
When he gave his farewell speech and he started crying, I was like, oh, dude. Like, it makes me feel good that I fucking persevered with
I
him.
am so...
And now I know,
That's
yes,
our family
yes.
for you.
That to me,
Yes.
yeah, that's family. That's the power of backyard wrestling. That's something you don't get.
That's redemption. He gets his redemption. That's what he deserved, and I'm happy for him. Right, okay, I guess we should move on from ETW. I mean,
Props.
we had to go on a bit long with that one because of how much we really care for those four
It's only
guys.
going to get longer the more we go.
Yeah, well, the next one is Stacey versus Lila, so...
Stacey
Good
and
Lord,
Lila,
we're gonna
I
go
love them
long
both.
again.
That's just both
These
so
bloody
amazing.
girls, I tell you what.
They're just so amazing, both of them.
I you know, to begin this part of it, fuck, we're an hour and a half into part two. to begin this part of it, you know, when I got to do the Heartbreakers reunion, it really meant a lot to me to get Stacey there, and she wasn't really that well aware of WZWA, but she was like, all right, and she came along anyway. And she didn't do much. She just was at ringside. I didn't want to put too much pressure on her to do things, but she stayed for the rest of the show. She enjoyed it, and she said, I really want to be a part of this. And I was like, are you fucking serious? I could get you full time? Awesome. Wasn't long after that, I started my new character, and I was like, I would love if you could be my manager. If you can't make every show, that's okay. But for the most part, she was there every event, and it was really cool seeing her get involved.
Always with a smile.
Hitting Ryan
face.
with a tornado DDT, slapping Monet in the face, and getting involved in matches and stuff like that. It really meant a lot to me to have like a girl that I consider like a sisterly kind of bond with, since we were fucking teenagers. But I knew in the back of my mind when I would talk to Ryan and Blade and Monet at booking meetings, be like, bro, the last show, I really want Stacey versus Lila. There's never been a girls' backyard wrestling match that I've ever known of, so we've got to try and do it.
Not in Australia.
But I thought, gosh, it's going to be a stretch to try and get Stacey to have a full match, or get Lily to be willing to work with another girl. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure she would have been fine, obviously, but she was. But I just didn't think it would happen. Anyway, I floated the idea by Stacey and Lily, and they were immediately like, "Yep." I mean, but after I'd given Stacey after I'd given Stacey the date of the final show, she said, well, me and my partner are trying to get pregnant at the moment.
Ooh, Stacey.
And I was like, oh, shit. Can you
a
hold off for a little while?
Everything I see on Facebook, her partner's like a legend.
No, he's awesome. He's the kind of guy that goes to local poker tournaments.
He's at the Yachty Awards.
He's
a good
kicks
guy.
some ass.
You'd think for like a husband that's never... I don't know, has he ever heard of backyard wrestling before this? Like,
No, he knew of XCW.
would have been like...
He knew of XCW, but he never came along until... Anyway, I managed to get them to agree to the match, but Stacey hadn't wrestled for many years. Probably about, 8 years. So she hadn't had a proper match in all that time, so Ryan and I came down to Jack's house one day on a day off. Jack mostly stayed inside for the proceedings, but you came out here and there.
I can't have a problem.
But me and Ryan got in the ring and tried to reteach Stacey some things and get them to be physically active with one another so that they were prepared for the final show. It was pretty fun. It was pretty funny. One stage, Stacey did the crossbody off the top rope onto Lily, and me and Ryan just went fucking ballistic, going, oh my god, this is actually going to be really good. But Stacey didn't practice the moonsault that day, but she did want to do it in the match. So that's kind of like the build-up, we wanted to make it for the Women's Championship, so with Stacey pinning Lila in the mixed tag match, we proclaimed her the first Women's Champion just to put some more stakes on the match.
She deserves something, man.
Exactly. She'd been doing it that long, and Lily winning it off her, obviously, she'd earned something to win as well. So that's the backing story to the whole thing. First ever women's backyard wrestling match that I've ever known of. And this time I'll start with you, DJ. What did you think of this matchup?
I thought it was fucking phenomenal, is what I thought. I thought that you couldn't have asked for a better fucking performance from either of them. I think that the fact that there was the moonsault and the power bomb and just a few key spots like that, I think everyone would have loved it no matter what, because they're both just sweethearts and a couple of just the sweetest people in the world, and everyone loves them. And I think that we all think of them in kind of a sisterly sort of a way.
Except for Ryan with Lily, having sex with her.
Of course not.
Like having heaps of sex with her.
Yeah,
from what I've heard. Yeah.
Fucking oath.
Yeah.
But I think that, for the most part, there's sort of a couple of people that we all have a sort of really protective kind of, feeling for. We all just adore them. And I think that, that match was perfect. A lot like the Fatal 4-Way. It was just everything you could have wanted it to be. It was just so much fun seeing Lily finally get to have a match where she felt like, it was an even playing field because it was a female match. And I think
Except against Mojo Flo, which fucking killed that little
fucking faggot.
French cunt.
Fucking little French faggot.
French Canadian brown prick.
Yeah, owned.
Brown fucking prick.
Yeah.
No, but no. To sum up, I mean, this is.
faggot.
I'm just going to be quick again, but yeah, I just thought it was phenomenal. I thought from Stacey we saw the best of what we could have expected from Stacey in XCW. You know, we saw all the best that Stacey had to offer in the ring, and then Lila, obviously, you know, she'd had a couple of encounters in the WZWA ring before that, but she was finally in her element here. Obviously, Stacey and Lily both got along really well, and they liked each other, and I think that chemistry helped the match tremendously.
Stacey's so good at being a little bitch.
Yeah.
I just
it's so,
she's so happy being a heel.
It's so opposite to what her actual personality is like, you know?
Nice as she would be, again.
Yeah, sweet as could be, and I think that, yeah, it was just amazing, really. That's where I'll leave it there.
Jack, seeing the girls go at it.
Just mad we didn't do it sooner. I'm angry that we
You're
didn't.
mad, you're angry.
Yeah,
You're
man,
hostile
I'm
about
fucking
it.
frustrated. No, not really.
I mean, I just wanted to save it the one time at the last show because I wasn't sure if we were going to get two out of it.
I'm over the moon we actually managed to officially get WZWA Women's Championship. I'm over the moon about that. I know I'm annoyed that we weren't able to do it sooner. But then again, there's not many girls that would do backyard wrestling. It's rare to find, and the fact we've managed to find two of them.
Dude, you know how excited we all were when we found out there's this other girl, Carla, who was Stacey's friend. Excited we were that two chicks wanted to join XCW when we were like 14, 15 years old. We were like, no way, chicks. Like, everyone was like, all like, I wasn't even supposed to have a match that day when they came. I was just supposed to do like commissioner stuff. And I was like, oh, I need to have a match. Girls are coming to watch, you know. John, can you do double duty? Can you wrestle me? You know, I want to wrestle in front of the girls. And Stacey stuck around. Carla didn't. But, you know, Stacey wrestled all the boys, and then we got to that point. But keep going.
Oh, that's the gayest story of
It's true though.
It's
like,
so
there's girls
gay,
coming.
man.
We have to wrestle in front of the girls.
I like the girl.
Oh,
I like it too.
No, it was. I thought like watching the match, it was unreal. I guess it's crazy, man. How like you watch a one-on-one between two men, but then you watch a one-on-one between two humans who just don't have a dick, and it's fucking just mind-blowing.
Even the littlest thing is huge. Stacey hit a neck breaker and Lila and got massive pop. Just seeing two
It
girls.
got a bigger pop than anything in like the fucking like. And I hate to say it because it was such a good match, but any like a fucking just a simple. I don't know, if they were to do it, a hip toss would have got a bigger pop than like the Supernova and Clint Marshall SJD Flame would have got.
Yeah.
Like, and I hate to say it, man, but fuck, like they got a reaction on anything. It's just because they're women, like that actually were willing to get in the fucking ring and do what we do.
That's it.
And all the girls in attendance,
Couldn't fucking believe it.
as I said, Rihanna, she was like, it was just so cool to see girls do it, you know, like, and prove that they could do it too. And I felt the same way.
And that's why it annoys me, because I reckon if girls that regularly came to the show saw that Stacey and Lily were doing it,
yeah, Tanisha.
why can't they do it?
But most of them were just fucking sluts, let's be honest.
Well, I reckon they still would have given it a try. If they
Yeah,
saw other
Tanisha.
girls.
Angela.
I'm just joking, but like...
Fucking
I'm not, you know you got a point.
Chaos. Sorry, Jack, were you done with your point there?
Yeah, no, I'm done.
Chaos, your thoughts on seeing the girls
Mate,
steal the show?
Yeah, no, it was fucking great. Yeah, no, you know what? It's another time when two girls, like, you know, two people, let's not even put a gender on it, two people came and fucking brought it. And you know what? I didn't see much of XCW, but from what I know about Lila, every time she's put in something, she fucking adapts to it. The thing with Ryan and Blade, being Ryan's manager, being Blade's manager, being the fucking general manager of the commission, whatnot. And you know what? She adapted to it and she made it fucking work. And then we got this fucking title, the women's title, on the last fucking event, and these girls fucking brought it.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what? And I'm gonna be the first one to admit and say it. I did not expect to see what I was gonna fucking see.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely fucking went beyond my expectations, and it was a great fucking match. It was enjoyable, and you know what? It was amazing to see Lila come out on top, and that was equal to Stacey coming out on top. They both got their fucking wins. They both got to hold the title, and you know what? They basically proved to us that they can do what we do, and they don't need the fucking meat and two veg to fucking do it.
Did we ever do any sort of segment to introduce the Women's Championship?
There was something that we recorded when we did the training here where we
I made sure I didn't.
Where I basically presented Stacey as the first ever women's champion. We were just sanctioning our own belt, basically, kind of like what you did with the cruiserweight title. Just doing it because we wanted to do it.
You should have done like.
There could be a whole episode just about the cruiserweight title.
And to go on with Jack, it's a shame we didn't do it sooner, because maybe we would have piqued more of an interest.
Not even sooner, man. Like, it would have been nice to introduce the championship, the women's title, maybe at like Christmas Carnage or Battlefield Brawl,
or even the Wrestleution before, and we could have had like.
But it wouldn't have been defended to the last show.
Like, yeah, we could have had like the first women's title at Wrestleution 4, and then like culminate at Wrestleution 5.
I think Jack's idea is better. I think.
I do too.
I feel like if we had some proper build up to it, holy shit, man, the match would have.
Are you also telling me that Stacey put off having a baby in the ovulation sequence to do this match?
Just for backyard wrestling.
Now, this is quick fucking just like veering off, but my partner, of course, she tells me about all this fucking baby pregnancy ovulation crap, right? That's a big thing, and kudos to Stacey for doing that.
That is big.
You may snort and sniffle, but you know what, man?
I just thought it was funny because you called it crap. That's why I was
making a meaningful point, but you're also mentioning that all this crap.
Well, you know what I mean. All this stuff.
Yes.
All this, I don't fucking know about it. You know, I've only just been introduced to it. And,
right.
Well, look, now that we have two,
you know, that's just kudos to Stacey for that.
2 WZWA Women's Champions.
Exactly.
In the record books.
Unfortunately, sorry, DJ, we couldn't book you in for a match.
Yeah, fucking. I would have lost anyway, man.
Yeah, because I would have been booking.
Yeah,
so.
Even if it was a shoot-off,
you'd have to.
I'd love to see Lila versus DJ.
Oh, we should have slowed down like a mixed.
I would have been destroyed. Lariat, pinfall.
Right, where are we at with this? Chaos, are you happy with what you've had to say?
Yeah. All that crap. Yeah.
I'm very, very proud of the girls, and they fucking nailed it that day. And I remember, because I was ejected from ringside earlier in the match, so I was peeking through the curtain, watching Stacey do that moonsault, and I'm like, fucking please don't hurt yourself, because she hadn't done it.
Not the first
ever.
time you peeked through the curtain on Stacey.
You got it, brother. But she did a moonsault on XCW previously where she landed on her head. So I was worried she was going to do it again, but she was fine, and the match went off without a problem, and Stacey went into the Hall of Fame after the match, which was a nice little moment as well, as the two girls shared a glass of wine. Right, we're at 1 hour 47 minutes into part 2, and we're about halfway through the show now. Well, this next match will make it halfway through the show, basically. It's JD Flame versus Clint Marshall, and I'm surprised that I didn't just make this one for the TWA Championship, considering every other fucking title is
you probably
represented on
haven't
the
even
show.
seen those videos, so you know what, we've been going long enough, we might as well sidebar.
Tell the sidebar like this.
So, before any of the Barrett or JD Flame or Clint Marshall came to ICWS, right?
Yeah.
We being me, Eli, Chaos, and Isa, and Dan, we'd known them. They would go to EPW shows. They were mad wrestling fans, and at one point, just after they came to ICWS, we discovered their fed that they had going on YouTube called the Trampoline Wrestling Alliance.
It's so gay.
Yeah, wait. And all of the fucking, every TWA video was just a montage sloppily edited together to like hang on. It was like a montage sloppily edited to like Bodies by Drowning Pool or some shit like that. Of just them doing like wrestling moves on the trampoline. And the thing was though, these were some fucking good moves. Like, you know, if you take away the fact that they were wrestling on a trampoline, you know, they knew what the fuck they were doing, but still it was hilarious.
Actually, the name of the Fed was Trampoline Wrestling Australia.
It's true.
It wasn't
Like they were a national organisation.
Let me guess, Zibby was responsible for that name.
I'm gonna guess Zibby was too busy rooting bitches off Tinder.
Apparently, Justin was the only TWA champion, never lost the belt.
Well,
Why
you know,
am I not
I think,
surprised?
guys, that I shouldn't lose the championship.
Why am I not
I
surprised?
am a philosophy major. I think that...
Why have you got an accent as Justin?
Because he's South African. You know, I don't think that it's fair for me to lose the championship.
Is Justin from South Africa?
South Africa?
Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, what the fuck, man?
I don't know. I thought he was from fucking Bethlehem or some shit.
What the fuck would he be?
Because he's a fucking Jew?
Was he born in a
Maybe
fucking
because he was a
manger?
fucking Jew?
What are the three wise men?
Anyway, are you done with your
Championship
story,
belt?
DJ? On
Yeah,
that
no,
little...
I'm fucking finished.
Alright, well, look, obviously the match was booked for... The only reason was because, you know, they came into Backyard Wrestling together, and just like ETW, just like Chaos and Alex, you know, etc., we're tying off the loose end, and they're going for one more battle, and they'd had a few over the years, but this was the final one. And fun little fact, I didn't know who was winning this match until it actually happened, because I was like, you guys decide.
What you know.
You guys, yeah. What you know, you guys decide. So this is them getting their opportunity to exit Backyard Wrestling with all of us. So this matchup, I'll start with Chaos this time. What did you think of JD Flame, Clint Marshall for the final time?
Well, man, like Clint always brings a great fucking match, and so does JD. And yes, we've watched him wrestle before, and it was a great match then. It was a great match fucking now, man. It's not like they just did the same old, same old. They just brought the same fucking A game. They always fucking do. And you know what, man? Clint has always been a specimen. He's an athlete. He did fucking baseball. Same team as Dark Ice did. And fuck, man, I couldn't have asked like anything better of them. They brought it, man. Third opinion in a row, they fucking brought it, man. And yeah, dude, fuck, man. Especially JD, because, you know, they were part-timers. They weren't doing it all the time. Every time they're in the fucking ring, man, they know what they're fucking doing, and let me laughing at me.
Oh, because I'm just so happy that we're all sitting here.
Oh, that's
recording
great.
the
That's
podcast.
nice. That's a great interruption. Thank you.
Well, what you fucking interrupted?
And,
Fuck!
Chaos suspends DJ with his cigarette. Keep going.
It was a complete accident.
Cough, cough,
For
cough.
fuck's sake.
You know, and man, I fucking love watching Zippy and JD wrestle, man. And I fucking if you know what, these are two guys that if they wanted to could probably go pro, and
Yeah.
if they worked on it, could
They'd
do
flourish,
fucking great
man.
things as well, man.
Zibby
You know,
especially, man.
exactly, and I'm glad they followed the North Star to a great fucking match.
Jack, what did you think of JD and Clint going out there last time?
I'm gonna wait for these guys to shut up. Get a good one-liner up in here. I think it's definitely safe to say we can call Clint Marshall Big Match Marshall.
Oh,
For sure.
fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Big rig, man. Look at that rig.
No, mate, he's Big Match Marshall, mate. He always shows up for the biggest of matches. Take example of Dan Zeppelin versus Clint Marshall at ICWS Twisted Metal 6.
5.
6, I think, was the Iron Man match.
Yeah.
It was not 5, man. Sure not.
Yeah, it was fucking 5, man.
was
I
6.
fucking booked it, cunt. I know when it was. I didn't book it, Chris did.
Why are you crying?
Yeah, but it was 5. No, I'm just got tears.
Yeah, no, it was 5. Yeah, because I debuted at 4.
Anyway, no, I thought it was a fucking sick match. It was everything you'd expect, you know. It's the classic Clint Marshall sort of match, back and forth. lot of spots, a lot of good spots. There was not much outside of the ring stuff, which was good. It was refreshing because a lot of the show I felt so far was a lot of it was outside of the ring. It was a good refreshment as well because you had you had the women's match, and then you had the ECW 4-way, Chaos vs Alex, the special guest ref. So it was a good way to break up the card a little bit. Kind of gave the show a bit more stability, I'd sort of say, and kind of gave a bit more people a bit more traditional professional wrestling match. Or it's not professional, but
yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and call it amateur wrestling because we're not fucking gay cunts wearing helmets.
They kept on a solid streak of the event of another great wrestling streak.
The match just flowed, and there was these kinds of worked with each other.
You knew that they played that shit out pretty well,
and I knew how this match was going to go down. I couldn't pick the winner, but I knew how this match was going to go down, and I wasn't disappointed. So that's my thoughts.
Daniel Johnston.
Well, I think that, I echo some of the sentiments that you boys have already said. I think that for Clint Marshall, on his part, it was a redemption because you knew how much him and Del Cano put into their final match, and then Del Cano unfortunately got injured. And you could tell, based on the complexity and the number of spots that they were doing, that Clint and JD put in an equal amount of time into planning this match. So I think that for Clint Marshall, he finally was able to redeem that unfortunate incident and sort of have that big kind of showcase match that he wanted to have with Mike. And then on the other side of the coin for JD, I think that at the time when everyone was getting all excited about that Marshall versus Del Cano match, JD Flame was over here going, and just sort of not as prominent in that situation. So I think that this gave him a chance to rise to the occasion. And as we've all just said before you guys even got to me, they've always had fantastic matches, and this was no different. It was amazing. As Carl said when we were watching the recap, it was a little disappointing that a lot of people sort of didn't seem to be engaged in it. They didn't seem
because they were going balls to the wall. They were hitting some pretty fucking specky moves as well.
That's the thing with backyard wrestling. Unfortunately, sometimes you may just end up in an unfortunate position on the card, and I think that crowd reaction wise, they may have suffered a bit there because they didn't have African Queen, but they didn't necessarily have all these as much kind of crowd interaction as I think that they probably would have wanted and probably deserved. But they do deserve every bit of credit we're giving them right now because it was a phenomenal match. If that had been the main event of Wrestleution 5, it would have been a fitting main event. That's how good of a match it was.
Excellent. My final thoughts. Very happy with the match, and chuffed to see a heel go over like that and just leave in disgrace.
And
Clint Marshall,
the body spray was such a good touch.
The body spray was a good touch, and Clint Marshall just dejected, damn, this is my exit from wrestling, but oh well, and he pointed to the camera, which looked very much like John Cena saluting in the Raw intro video.
The flash.
I love that. I love that.
Never give up. I just want to be loved.
This is hell annoying, man.
We all just did the John Cena thing.
It's just really annoying because some fan has taken a photo with the flash on at John Cena. And as they've paused it, he's just got the big flash on him. So
you think they would have used a fan photo for the opening of Raw?
They literally just it's just fuck off.
I think what he meant was there was footage of him being shot doing that pose, but someone took a picture at the same time.
They ended up using the photo. It goes from footage of him.
He looks like he looks pink as fuck.
Hashtag
he looks so pink because of the fan's flash.
Anyway, yes, okay, all right, we get it.
I actually just had a conversation about that.
I'm very happy that we could have got these two guys in the last show, and it was good to have Barrett there to witness the match. I loved some of the build up to this match where we did that backyard TV simply for Phaser versus Clint Marshall, and to get JD Flame to hit the cutter on Clint Marshall and try and start a storyline somewhat through that was good. But one thing I'm very proud of is that the whole time I had Clint Marshall whilst I was booking, I felt like I never did right by him, and I never really had him do something where he could sink his teeth into. But when he returned, immediately dropped into a feud with the originals. He wrestles fucking Rex, he wrestles Antilochus, and there's all this shit going down with the originals going after him. Once that was done, I remember the first beatdown actually on him was fucking brutal. But then, after that we got to tick off some matches he never had before. Him versus Alex was a big match to have. Him versus Phaser was a big match to have. Unfortunately didn't get the Blade match, but I was proud that I finally got it right with him. I felt like I finally got it right with him. And if WZWA continued, he would have been up in that heavyweight title program. And as far as Justin's concerned, that last year was very frustrating for me because he was supposed to be commissioner for most of it, but he didn't show up. So that's why we went with Commissioner Lila. And Justin was going to actually win the Australian Championship at one stage, but because of him not showing up to events that often, that was thrown out the window. But, he finally came back right when it mattered, which was right near the end, and we ended up getting a phenomenal farewell for both of them. We just hit 2 hours. I think maybe we should leave this as part 2 and we'll reconvene with part 3 in a few minutes. Alright, boys, we're halfway through the show now. Thank you if you've been sticking with us this whole time. I'm sure it's just Ryan. Because everyone else has things to do with their life. So Blade might listen. But and if you are listening, Blade, fuck you. You could have been here right now making this even longer than it could be.
Well, Blade and I have been
Chris might be on the way.
Shut the fuck up.
Chris might be on his way to Geraldton, or Mitch might be driving up from Perth.
When would he ever come to Perth in the first place? It's like
Monet's wedding, maybe. Alright, that's part 2 here on episode number, I don't fucking know, 92?
It's 92.
92, fuck yeah, bro. Those heaps are high. This is Aston Creed alongside Jack Wallace, Daniel Johnston, and Kilowatt Chaos. We'll be with you very soon. Thank you very much.